Hello, people. It's your boy Ambassador again doing his thing. As usual, I come here to share my opinions. I want you to drop your opinion in the comment section. Your opinion matters. So, today I'll be looking at South Africa. I always say that three countries I look at a lot in Africa: Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria. Because I feel like they have very strategic roles to play in the destiny of Africa. And if we as other African countries don't support them in those roles, it might be tricky. At least English Africa. So I just said if South Africa is falling, Africa has no hope. The video which I shared, you will see that there are lots of tensions in South Africa right now. The breakdown which we have in this video, which explains how the population is outgrowing the economic growth. And when that happens, that's just a secret recipe for disaster, because you are having more people than you are having resources to feed them or take care of them.
The last I checked, between 2004 and 2016, thereabout, we had done over 180 billion rand worth of black economic empowerment transactions. Whilst necessary, we hadn't created 180 billion rand worth of new economic value. What that actually means, quite simply, is that you didn't build a bigger boardroom, you just changed who was sitting in the chairs. Now, the consequence of this is, as you know, South Africa over the past 10 years has had an economic growth rate compounded at less than 1%. Our population growth compounded is about 2.8%. So the rate at which new people are being born supersedes the rate at which this economy is growing. This is precisely why young people are finishing school today and they can't find work, because this economy they are coming into can't absorb them.
Secondly, he looked at the BEE, that I think is the Black Empowerment scheme they have in South Africa, which, when you look at it now, it was more of a corrective measure, but which for me had a wrong intervention approach, in the sense that it was just like every black man gets to benefit from BEE. But it was not necessarily every black man who merits to benefit gets to benefit. People were just having contracts and things and then misappropriating the funds, but they were not earning this right to this BEE. So that's where BEE kind of failed the South African. And now the large population is feeling, should I call it, marginalized, and they'll rise up with time. So if no corrective measures are put to correct the corrective measure which they initially wanted to put in place, then they might just be going down this slippery slope until there's some destruction in South Africa, things will not stop. Also, I say, if South Africa was ever handed to the African, they are not ready. First, that question has two layers, because at first I feel like South Africa is not in the hands of the Africans, because they have been put as the face and the puppets, but those with economic power, like the Indians and the Dutch or the white South Africans, are still in control of South Africa. So they're just pulling the black guys like the puppets. But I don't think that's a bad idea, because if they are fully handed to the Africans, it will crumble like every African nation. When I see what they are doing with the little means and power they have been given, I imagine if they gave them everything, it will go down. And it's not an insult to the black race. We can just turn and look at Zimbabwe. We don't have proper preparation, we do ethics. So there's always that tendency of, if we are giving things because we're not prepared properly to handle them. And I'm not seeing the signs. I mean, like, if I already saw like lots of South Africans or black Africans getting into top Wall Street things, looking at legacy kind of businesses, moving more into let's say building of machines, transformation things, we know that, okay, if the whites leave, these guys can handle the system. But we see most of their things crumbling, and I think we see that their light is the ESCOM or the light service in South Africa. When you see some of those things, you start to question, like, if everything was really handed to the South Africans, the blacks, would it stand? Secondly, they don't have a critical mass, as the large majority of black people are not educated enough to make educated choices when it comes to elections, their day-to-day life. And the risk we feel, I was watching a podcast, how do they call this guy? There are some youths who talk about social things, but they were almost sounding like they prefer when they're being led by white people. And that was so sad for me, because I felt like, one, they did not go through apartheid to know the dangers and the real suffering of apartheid. So they were actually putting forward the narrative like maybe South Africa was better during apartheid, which is crazy. But because they did not live through apartheid, they feel like maybe it's better when they were led and controlled by the white South Africans. And without any force or coercion, the blacks might still take their legs and then walk into that same situation which they fought to leave 30 years ago. Which that's just the story of, yeah. So we don't want colonization. They give us control of the country, but we take our legs and walk back into colonization. We don't want slave trade. They abolish slave trade, but we take our legs and walk back through the desert this time around, not even through boats, walk through the desert back into slavery. So, with that being said, if there's no critical mass that really knows where they want to go to, I always say without a good critical mass, there can be no true leadership. Because any true critical mass that comes before, any true leadership that comes before a critical mass will get killed. That's a suicide mission. I always say that. That's just my opinion. As usual, I tell you guys, like, share, comment. Your opinion matters. Drop your comments in the comment box. Ambassador, I'm out.
Just my opinion.